Mumbai International Film Festival's insightful session on Beyond the Lens, Funding and Monetization in Documentary Filmmaking. Ladies and gentlemen, Namaste. I am Ayushi Dholakia, your host for the morning, and we shall reconvene under the auspices of the Mumbai International Film Festival for a series of masterclasses and in-conversation sessions. Our gratitude goes to the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, the National Film Development Corporation, the National Film Archive of India, alongside the Satyajit Ray Film and Institute, Kolkata. A big thank you to everyone who made this possible today. Today we will delve into the financial backbone of documentaries with over 20 sessions planned in future on various aspects of filmmaking and creative storytelling. We are privileged to host a panel of experts who have navigated the intricate world of documentary funding and monetization. Today's discussion will delve into various avenues for securing funds and generating revenue from documentary filmmaking. Our esteemed panelists will unveil insights on acquiring grants, leveraging crowdsourcing, forging partnerships, navigating TV deals, engaging with film festivals, and exploring direct distribution models. These tactics empower directors to finance their creative endeavors and ensure their powerful narratives reach a broad audience. And now it's time to welcome our panelists with a warm round of applause. Let's hear it for Mr. Jatin Kishore, IAS, Additional Secretary to the Honorable Governor, Director Information, Government of Jammu and Kashmir. Next we have Ms. Svetlana Nordial, Programming Director at Movie India. तालियों की आवाज बरकरार रहनी चाहिए because we shall now invite Mr. Arun Thapar, President of Content and Communication A+E Networks at Network 18. Joining him, we have Mr. Girish Dvibhashyam, COO of DocuWay. And last but not the least, let's hear it for Ilya Tholstov, Deputy CEO of Moschino Cinema Park. And now it's time to invite our panelist, Mr. Rajni Acharya, a director and producer with an impressive portfolio of over 300 self-funded documentaries and the head of Indian Documentary Producers Association. Once again, let's hear it for the entire star-studded panel and our moderator. Audience, we shall also entertain questions from you towards the end. But till then, please hold on to your hearts and your queries. And now I would like to invite Mr. Prathul Kumar, Joint Secretary Films, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and Managing Director, NFDC, to come and felicitate our esteemed guests. And now, before we start our panel discussion, I would like to invite Sir to say a few words before we start this insightful conversation.
Esteemed dignitaries on the dais, panelists, moderator, and such happy faces and lovely faces in the morning, my friends, and welcome to the MIF Festival. This is the first panel discussion and masterclass session which we are about to start on such an important topic of monetization of documentaries. And these panel sessions and masterclasses are especially important because they're so pivotal to the whole festival that they not only give insights about what is going on currently in the world of cinema, especially the documentaries and animation and shorts for which this festival is there, but it also gives you an opportunity, in fact, all the film students, filmmakers, budding filmmakers, an opportunity to see what the aspirational leaders have to tell them, what is the practical experience which we won't be finding in the books. So this is a very, very engaging format, and I think it becomes the backbone of the film festival. So we have curated 20 master classes in the whole Mumbai International Film Festival 18th edition, and all the topics and all the eminent panelists have been chosen with great care and with so that the maximization of knowledge is there for all the attendees. And after all, it is all because of the attendees we are having this wonderful festival. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And apart from this, I'd also like to announce one more thing, is that these sessions are getting recorded by Doordarshan. They will be put by the evening, all the sessions will be put on the YouTube channel of Doordarshan and also NFTC. And on DD Bharati, they will be also telecasted on TV, all the sessions. So I really congratulate all the panelists, first panelists, and also congratulate all of you and enjoy the festival. Thank you.
Continuing with the same zeal and positivity, now I shall ask Mr. Rajni Sir to please take over. Thank you.
Hello, yes, I'm audible. Thank you. We are here for documentary, short films, and we are talking about preserving the history. First documentary was made by one gentleman from America, Robert. He made Cook North, that is on Eskimo, history of the Eskimo family. Second documentary, which was first produced in India, was by Bhatt Vadakar. He made a documentary on the wrestling. He captured all the shooting footage, and it was shown near to our place here, on Hanging Garden for public viewing. Now days are changed. First of all, I am very happy that at 10:30, first session, and North Bombay, you all come here to attend. That shows how much you are interested to be your work, what you have made documentaries and other films, and here panel is there with me. They are the buyers. I'm representing not only as a moderator, but we supposed to have one producer also here, but I'm a producer also, so I have some question. I'll take it both in that. In India, documentary started center, film division in 1948. Purpose was to capture the events what is happening in India and showcase in through the theatre. You remember whenever you go to theatre, they used to show the film division's newsreel, and we used to watch and we get information about the government and whatever the happening in the world. Slowly, documentary makers are got more opportunity because of film division started giving lot of work and opportunity to new documentary maker, creator who can make a good documentary and funded by films division. I still remember in India, once you are NSID, National School of Drama, NSD, and FTI, your doors are open. You go to the films division, you get the fund for the documentary. Go to NFDC, you get fund for the making the film. Whatever the small budget, but students who has come out from the NFDC got the opportunity to give them the help. With this, I would like to request Svetlana that tell me what is the present situation and the scenario.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. Present situation and scenario for documentaries is, one is that we are here at this festival, and the inaugural edition of Doc Film Bazaar is here, which was long time due for this space. And while Film Bazaar has existed and run successfully for so many years, and having worked there, I know how well it has done, how it has changed the life of certain films. It's great that we have this for documentaries now through Doc Film Bazaar. We've obviously come a long way, as you've shared the history of documentary filmmaking, and we've obviously come a long way from where it was, but there's still a long way to go, as we see currently. I come from a streaming platform, but which shows documentaries, shorts, fiction, feature, everything, but we're a very curated platform, and we can't show everything that's out there. Platforms and television is one big way that is avenue that is there for documentaries, but unlike other countries, theatrical distribution and a more mass sort of reaching out to the larger public still remains to be explored for us. So I see present day situation as something which has a lot of hope, but there's still a long way to go.
Thank you, Chetana. I must tell you one thing, that a documentary were made in the 60s, 70s or 80s before the mobile came, and then mobile video. There is drastic change. There are many new talent. They would like to express their feelings, they like to convey their thought and make a documentary on the mobile or use the camera, whatever the camera available for them. The basic problem with every documentary filmmaker is funding. Second thing, the biggest demand or the requirement of all the buyers is it should be technically best. So you have to use all the latest equipment, you have to have the good sound quality, you have to have the good video quality, and I know I got to experience, I made many films, but it's costing. There is demand from the buyer, but there is a condition that they need the good product. There is a maker who would like to make the film, but they don't have fund and they don't have buyer. We got a good friend from Russia. Tell me, my brother, what is your scenario there in your Russia and how you help us to work together, India and Russia?
Hello everyone. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me for this event. It's a great pleasure. And I present here Moscow government for last year and a half. There's a big program funded by the Moscow government to create the super movie cluster in Moscow, which includes several pavilions and one of the biggest in the world movie park, which is 1,100 square hectares. And also we work hard right now on the development of the special funding for movie production and co-production. The reason to create this movie cluster in Moscow was twofold. First of all, to create the necessary infrastructure for movie making, and the second one is to create an entity which could serve as one door to enter the Russian market and create movies in Russia. I was born in the Soviet Union, and I grew up on the Indian movies. I love them so much, and right now before coming here, I was checking the ratings of the Indian movies, including documentaries in Russia, and you know what, out of 10, I haven't found any movie which were rated less than 8. So all of them are 8 and 10. So right now, I think like it's the second wave of Indian movies coming to Russia again. As of now, we are in the middle of creating, as I said, creating the infrastructure in terms of like the real parks and in terms of the entity which could help the production companies to work in Russia and get funding. So as of today, we work on the case-by-case basis. So we are very open to help any ideas to be created in terms of co-production, in documentaries, in any kind of cinema activities. So you're more than welcome to come to Russia. We will help you to find a co-production and to secure funding.
Thank you. When we are talking about Russia, let's go to Jammu Kashmir. I got a very good panelist with me, Mr. Jatin Kishore. He is the person who is in charge of information department and in the Jammu Kashmir, and is additional secretary to LG, Honorable LG. And now they are also looking after some good thing happen in their area. Jammu Kashmir is, I think, is a virgin area where you not seen the kind of a documentary one can make. Not the only shooting the location or showing the beautiful place, but there are, if you go to the ground to earth, if you see that some story, there are already good stories happening, and if one can search that. So I got a friend with me. I would like you to please elaborate how you can help us, the documentary filmmaker, and what you expect from them, and what they will expect. They will ask the question in the question answer.
Thank you, sir. So like you said, I represent the government of Jammu and Kashmir, the Department of Information, and we recently launched our film policy 2024, and we are trying to promote Jammu Kashmir as a filmmaker destination. As I'm sure most of you, since you are students of film, you would be aware that Jammu Kashmir has had a very rich history of filmmaking, lots of movies, documentaries not so much, but Bollywood has had an intrinsic relationship with Jammu and Kashmir. And for the past 3 to 4 years, filmmaking has again taken up on a huge level. So now we're trying to take it on to the next level, and we are trying to promote filmmakers, facilitate filmmakers, firstly in the form of incentives. We offer good subsidies to filmmakers. So since this is about monetization and funding of filmmakers, of documentaries, I'm sure many of you would be keen to know the details. Just to give you a good idea, we offer around 1.5 crores maximum subsidies, and we have specific provisions for documentaries, web series, animation shorts. But apart from that, we are also trying to help you and handhold you in making those documentaries. Generally, we find that a lot of filmmakers will get stuck in navigating the government, getting permissions and getting to the locations. But that's where we'll come and handhold you, we'll help you get those permissions. And we've recently launched a single window portal also, where you can just apply online and all the permissions, we'll arrange all the logistics for you and we'll help you get your movie making done. So you focus on the movies, leave the rest to us. I'm hoping a lot of you, many of you come and film in Jammu.
I'm so happy that my friend Jatin Kishore also offering the money and the facility to make the documentary in Jammu Kashmir. And my friend from Russia just also offered that he would like to help the documentary maker and the joint venture, approach them and work together. But one thing is there, I would like to ask to Girish, that is easy to make documentary. We, documentary producer, maker, we put our own money. There is no buyer. And then there is no sponsor for that. So, if we will come to you, Docubay, and we like to associate with you, tell me how best way the producer can get the benefit or how they monetize the things.
Hello, yeah. So, firstly, Rajni sir, I think a lot of credit has to be given to veterans like you and thousands of documentary filmmakers who have made documentaries since 1948 till now, for more than 75 years, without actually having an ecosystem of monetization for hundreds of these documentaries. And it's really a miracle or surprising to see such high quality documentary content come out over the last 75 years, because it's only now that platforms have started actually treating documentaries as a mainstream piece of content. So I think I would like to start off saying that I think a lot of credit has to be given to not only films division, but because not every producer is lucky enough to get funding from films division. So I think a lot of credit has to be given to Indian documentary filmmaking community. Now to answer your question about how should a documentary filmmaker approach Docubay, or I would rather say any streaming platform, is sir, basically nowadays what we have seen is that it has to somewhere start from the choice of topic. It should be something that would appeal to a large segment of audience. In the past, what we have seen that a lot of filmmakers feel very close to a particular topic in their hearts. So then they end up making a documentary on that. But now with platforms like us, what the filmmaker also has to factor in that, okay, this topic is close to my heart, but will this appeal to a large segment of audience? Because that really helps us to also, in turn, get more viewership and pass on the monetization benefit to the filmmaker. So I think that is one aspect. And second aspect is that, like you also mentioned, that nowadays the technical quality of the documentary also matters a lot. We are living in an attention economy where visually, if something is striking, it really helps. And well-researched content, good topic, which has a very pan-India appeal or global appeal, I think that is a starting point for any filmmaker.
Thank you, Girish. When we were having the coffee together, Arun Thapar, he was telling me, Rajni, you made Dastan-e-Rafi. I was surprised at how he knows about my product. So I'm so happy that person like Arunji knows about Dastan-e-Rafi. As a producer, I want to share some few things. It took 5 years to make Dastani Rafi. And all the money we have put, we self-funded. We done shooting in Pakistan, we done shooting in Punjab, go to the real location and take the interview and other things. And the film industry has helped me a lot to give me the bites and interviews and other things. It has cost me more than 60 lakhs rupees. But sir, I have not recovered the money. So that's another point which we all producers is facing. Because I do other business also in the documentary, the lithography and other things. So I earn the money and I put the money in making the documentary as per my choice. But I understood one thing, you cannot make the documentary as per your choice or your thought process. Buyers and the audience, what they require and what they watch, that we have to understand. But it is very difficult. Even Das Kapoor could not understood his film will run or not. But one has to take risk, either the documentary maker or the buyer also take the risk and try. Many times in the entire entertainment industry, the success ratio is 10%. Whether it is a film, whether it is a drama, whether it is a TV serial or whatever you can say. So rest is a risk. So it is a judging of the film is in your buyer's hand, and the making of the film is in the hand of us or documentary filmmakers. Am I right? Yes. Good. So what is his suggestion is that they try to understand demand and supply. Arunji, please tell me about your opinion.
Thank you, Rajji, for that. And yes, Dastani Rafi is a lovely film. But first, let me thank NFDC for having us all here today, and all of you who are really the lifeblood of this entire session and the festival. Thank you for making the trip and for being interested in this session in the first place. And thank you all, my fellow panelists, for being here today. Look, Rajni, as the example that you just shared about Dastani Rafi, which you self-funded, and if memory serves, I think you even had to sell your wife's jewelry to fund it. And that was the kind of passion and dedication that you poured into it over these 5 years to see that documentary come to life. And I think that really is the crux of it. Documentarians are essentially artists and journalists rolled into one. And they fulfill a very, very important role in society and in cinema at large. But like artists and journalists, theirs is not an easy journey. And you really have to steel yourself if you want to walk that path. While sitting here in the front row, I heard a few people say, I hope these guys are going to be realistic. So I'm giving you the unvarnished truth. Some of it, like the documentaries that you make, might be an inconvenient truth. But the fact is that you need to steel your resolve to walk this path and to become those artists and journalists who want to say your thing. However, since this session is essentially about what goes on behind the lens and the monetization part of it and the bazaar part of it, the fact of it is, like my earlier speaker said, Girish and Shwetlana, you need to figure out whether it is that you're in it for the money and for the monetization part of it, or the business end of it, or whether you want your word to go across. It's very rare that there's a convergence of these two things, that you make something which is saying what you want to say in the form that you want to say it, as well as that securing a marketplace. I think the film industry at the moment in India is somewhere around $4.5 billion US. A large part of that is Bollywood, around 3 billion if projections are to be believed. I don't even have the numbers for how much documentary market is actually worth. And that really tells you how difficult it is to get funding. I represent the History Channel in India, which is run by the A&E networks and TV18. We are, as are a few others in this category, a factual entertainment channel. And I think that that term itself tells you that there's been a rebranding in the documentary and non-fiction space. What was once referred to as documentary was also associated with slow-moving, dour content, often short, not fitting in to the half an hour or 1 hour scheme of television programming cycles. And therefore, there was a rebranding that was necessary, and factual entertainment was born a few years ago. Not a few years ago, about 20 years ago, or 25 years ago. And therein lies, in a sense, the truth. Do you want to be documentarians, or do you want to produce high caliber factual entertainment? The entertainment part of it is kind of crucial. And this is not something that's determined top down by the people who are commissioning these programs or the channels. There is, of course, an element of the top-down prescription of what we want to use or what we are most likely to commission, because every channel, every platform has its own pillars of programming, has their own brand positioning, has their own set of brand values that they want to live up to in terms of the product or the content that they want to put out, or the content offering that they want to stitch together. But essentially, it comes from the audience. Is there an audience for what you want to say? If you want to make it regardless, then I'm afraid you can't complain that there is no funding available for it. Then you have to walk the lonely and hard road of the artists. But if you want to do something that has distribution and that will get you enough money to make another one and another one, and to be, relatively comfortably off economically, then you have to tailor make some things to what the market wants to watch. The way documentaries generally work, and it's not unique only to India, is that a documentary is made, they go through the film festival circuit worldwide, they get a lot of critical acclaim, and then they generally start to get picked up. Because they're associated with an endorsement which comes from the West or comes from, higher ARPU markets, ARPU being the average revenue per user, and therefore they become monetizable within a geography. Now, that's the long, arduous route, but that is the route that generally documentaries work through. The other, of course, is that you have a great idea, you've done some work on it, you've done some development part of work on it, and then you go to my friends in streaming video and come to us as broadcasters and see if there's a marketplace, if there's an interest, if our audiences align or have affinity with your kind of content or what you want to produce. And here again, because factual entertainment, this includes the BBC, Discovery, Nat Geo, History, there is a certain caliber of content in terms of the production values that is a given. And that will have to be met, because the threshold of expectation in a globalized world where everybody has access to the top end content in terms of production values, the threshold of expectation that the viewer has is very, very high. So you can't say, yaar, mere paas to paise kam the, so I just did it on my phone, etc. Unless the story you're telling is absolutely compelling. So what story it is, what treatment it is, what subject matter it is, what production values you put into it, you need to tick all those boxes. And yes, that's not going to be an easy or a cheap proposition. So you need to choose whether you want to be on the business end of it or whether you want to be the artist. And that's the unvarnished truth of it. So crowdfunding, yes, that's an opportunity, limited. If you have a following based on other content that you've been creating on social media, yes, that's another avenue, again limited. The best way to do it, I think, would be to go to the festival circuit or to go early on, figure out what the market wants, figure out the production values and subject matters that you choose are generally going to generate enough demand in the market and interest amongst audiences, then come to and pitch to broadcasters as well as streaming platforms. There are also intermediaries or incubation platforms that you can go to that are going to invest in this based on a teaser tape or on a concept, and that's something that generally can give financing. The good news is that Moscow's open and JNK is open. The good news also is that in the last half a decade or so, Indian documentaries have really announced themselves on the global stage. Of course, the most recent example that comes to mind, which is just won an Oscar last year, is Elephant Whisperers. And trust me, that gives a huge leg up to the entire documentary scene within India, because suddenly everybody sits back and says, yes, of course, 1/6 of humanity has largely been ignored in the documentary space by the West. Because, it might be unpopular to say this at this forum, but the world has generally, or is generally, drunk on Western content. Especially content coming out of the US as well as the UK. And that is gradually changing in a globalized world and following the law of unintended consequences. A lot of that also has to do with the writers' strike that happened in LA and in America, which has given a sudden new impetus to non-fiction programming, where given the drought in fiction programming, everybody's making a beeline and picking up non-fiction content. So suddenly you find streaming platforms flooded with that. And that's really good news for non-fiction and documentary filmmakers. But be realistic, pick the subjects accordingly. You are close to your subjects, as Girish also said, but be realistic about what's going to work. And that really is the crux of it.
Thank you, Varun. There is another platform people always think about. You can make money on YouTube. Entire turnover of YouTube is turnover of Indian film industry. That is what I have found. I may be wrong. But generating money from the YouTube is very peanuts. You can't recover your money and you can't get a lot of viewers. As far as when you mentioned about the festival, that is a good idea. Any good maker should go to the festivals, get the film promoted and get some news and some buzz that you made a good documentary. My personal experience, and I would like to share with all the documentary makers, that when you make the documentary, you have to have the extra fund to promote your films in festival. Festival is, you have to enter in the festivals is submission fees. And sometimes your films is selected in wherever they don't provide the like NFDC or the other big festival that your travel and the stay. But one has to also think about that line. If you want to go to the festival and make the film promoted. I made one film for Vishal Ki Mukh Ram Leela, and we have gone to more than 35, 40 festivals. Out of it, 8 festivals we got the awards or the recognition about our product. But it is again market strategy and the availability of the fund. That is the main thing. Svetlana, you tell me one thing, that how you are functioning, monetizing, is it sharing or buying, or what is your system about documentary or any other content?
So Mubi is a curated streaming platform, and we show films from around the world as well as India, South Asia to our audience, and these films could be feature, could be documentary, could be short films. We are only looking for, when we look at films for the platform, we're only looking at the high quality films which we know that our audience would like. And we're not necessarily judging them whether it's a feature or a documentary or a short film. We don't think that, oh my god, now we've taken 3 short films, so we can't take any more short films. So we've already taken 2 documentaries, we can't take more documentaries. There's no consideration like that. It has to be a great film, and that's all that we seek.
Girish?
At Docubay, we've been working on this for the last 5 years, and since we are a global platform, we have documentaries from all over the world, more than 100 different countries. And we have documentaries which have been made by filmmakers from around the world. And hence what we have observed is that irrespective of where the documentary is from, I think the topic and the way it's made, how entertaining it, or I would say engaging is a better word, how engaging the documentary is, how sleek the editing is. I think these are the factors which we evaluate when we screen documentaries. And of late, we have been working very closely with a lot of young filmmakers, new production companies. In fact, some of our originals have been directed by a lot of young filmmakers. Some of our flagship original documentaries like Water Mafia, Bogus Phone Operators, who have done, I mean, these documentaries have done really well for us globally, and they all, I mean, the age group of the directors are like between 25, 30. So we work very closely with a lot of young filmmakers, and at the same time we also work with some experienced production companies as well. So we have a very balanced portfolio of content providers that we work with. We also work with newcomers, we work with experienced ones, and we kind of try to maintain a balance between doing things that are already working for us and trying out new things and pushing the boundaries in terms of original content. Just to pick up one or two points from what Arun also mentioned and what Rajni sir you also mentioned, that obviously the international awards have played a lot of have played an important role so far in documentary acquisition, and obviously as a platform, even at DocuBay, we value these awards. But I think I would say this on a positive note and on a very optimistic note, that nowadays, if you have a good story, if you have a good topic, if you have done extensive research on a particular topic, and there are monetization opportunities available, and awards, getting validation from some international entity is not a prerequisite for a young filmmaker with a brilliant documentary to be monetized. We at DocuBay are open to hearing out pitches from literally anybody who has a good concept, good research, and ability to make a good documentary. And certainly we don't see awards as a roadblock for our acquisition. But yes, we do give weightage, obviously, if some renowned festivals value such content. So in that sense, I mean, we work very closely with a lot of filmmakers, and we have a full spectrum of 700 documentary catalog, and I mean, that's how we do our selections.
Thank you, Girish bhai. Let me sum up with a few points which I'd like to mention. That there is a big gap between the buyer and the maker. We meet in the festival like this, and sometimes we exchange the card. But there should be some agency or some good association. If they can give collectively, they come to you with the films, list of the films. Like we got the IDPA, Indian Documentary Producer Association. And we are now also part of this festival. At the same time, previously the Doordarshan used to select the film what we used to supply or provide. Election is there. But our job as a documentary as film producer association to give the suggestion that this kind of film available if you want to show. And that films were shown on the Doordarshan. Yes, it was there. But whatever money was paid, it is fine. But there was I think there is a bridge we have to create between the buyer and the maker. So we look forward for that. There should be some bridge, and how people can approach. It is very difficult. If I told Girish sir, I will talk to you, but you don't have time. Svetlana, I talked to her for 10 times, and then she came online. Don't feel bad. So it's like that. Life is such. Everybody is busy. So you know about me more than me what I know. Okay. So I would like to throw request the audience to throw the question to the panelists, and you'll get a satisfactory answer, and you'll get motivation. And you got a buyers and request that please give 10, 15, 20 minutes to this documentary maker to meet you and exchange the card.
So Raji sir, before we start that, just a quick point here. If you look around the world and the mecca of content production, high value content production, not high value necessarily because it's the best kind of content, but high value in terms of the economics of it, has been the US. So looking at the US, out and out capitalist economy, even in the US, the main support to documentary and independent filmmaking came from PBS. Right, so the public broadcast system and the equivalent of that in any country is absolutely crucial. And obviously it's in recognition of that fact that NFDC today, under the aegis of the MIB, is conducting this wonderful session and festival. And I think there is no running away from the fact that while the market forces are at play as far as all things private sector are concerned, a lot of the impetus support, like Jatin is doing, for example, for his territory and market, must also come from the government. That's in terms of facilitation, permissions, funding, and distribution. Now, the Broadcast Audience Research Council in India measures about 200 million households, which come to almost 900 million viewers in India, which is by far the largest audience in catchment area. I mean, streaming video, for example, by comparison, is about 1/10 that number. And that is the main bottleneck. Distribution, particularly television distribution, is governed by advertising. And often what happens with documentaries, because they are artists and journalists rolled into one, they show the mirror to society. They tell inconvenient truths, things that are not necessarily palatable or great to watch in terms of how they make you feel at the end of it, both societally, politically, economically, etc. And therefore they're not necessarily testaments to good news. And therefore they don't find a ready audience amongst either public broadcasters or sponsors. And therefore, a lot of distribution platforms, televisions particularly, is not going to touch them, despite the fact that they might be first-rate products. Those are the realities of the marketplace. And therefore, the government-run agencies and the public broadcast system plays an absolutely vital part of that.
Correct. I agree with you. Okay, with this, we would like to ask audience any questions.
Yeah, hello. My name is Manjit Kohli, a writer and lyricist. I have been associated with Rajin sir also for his documentaries to write script writing and the voiceover writing, and the lyrics. We have a Tatra Music also company. There are three. One is observation, another is a question. Observation is that when we are writing a documentary, what my experience is there, if it is just a flat, doesn't content, the dryness should not be there. It has to be a something topsy-turvy and with curvature. There should be something binding which keeps you binding. There is some anxiety to the viewer. Then he is hooked. If he is hooked within first 1 minute, then he will see the documentary. If he is not hooked within first 1 minute, he will just go to the other side.
Thank you. That's
That's
a
a
Magister.
So this is a young audience, so I think 1 minute आपके मेरे ज़माने में होता था, यहाँ पे 10 seconds.
10 seconds for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, second my question with our Russian friend. Well, I had an opportunity while studying in Russia in 1976-78. I was in Astrakhan, Ref2. And I had an opportunity to go there, and also on the television. When they saw me as an Indian, their first question asked me, do you know Raj Kapoor? So that was the Indian movies were so popular. But most of the films in Russia, they were dubbed in the second Russian language, and I was so happy and very proud that our films are shown there. Aradhana, Hati Mere Sathi, and everyone, all dubbed in that. At that time, I was watching Russian films and documentaries also on the television. That black and white television was there and common in my hostel. But most of those documentaries or films were based or had any story going again to the World War. Every film was going some link with the World War and families, all that. Now the things, have they been changed? After that, what are the documentary and the films at present, the subjects? Barring for some, most of the films were World War based. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
I think
that could be a very good opportunity for you as a movie content makers to enter the market. The government right now is paying huge attention for the industry at all, in general. There are many festivals, and it was mentioned that for the documentaries, the good possibility to enter the market is through festivals. There is government funding for co-producing movies, for funding like the Russian production, the co-production, and so on. And on my side, I can tell you that my job is to create like the entity which will be the help for you to find those opportunities in terms of finding the co-production, secure the funding, finding the infrastructure, and so on. So welcome, and I think it's right now, and again, this is my personal opinion, right now is the time to enter the Russian market.
We don't have any development funds here, like we do in many parts of the world. And when we talk about what the gentleman just said about having a good script or developing the narrative, the documentary filmmaker has to survive. So as policymakers and people who could influence the agencies that could maybe structure the funds in a way that we can have a development fund, we can have a pre-production and a post-production fund, would that be a possibility? And just one more question, sir, about co-production. I think we don't have tax credits in India. So how do we do a co-production? Because I've done a lot of work in Canada where we have tax credits. So we can work with the tax credit to develop the next film. And if we do a co-production, why would a documentary come and maybe do post-production in Russia? That would be an issue, right? So how would we work out the percentage required for a co-production? Because there has to be a 30-70 or a 60-40. So I just have two questions. One would be for the development fund and the division of the funding, and maybe impact funding, which is a very big one for monetization. So I don't know who would like to take that.
Yeah, he will give that.
So it's actually an interesting question, and we were actually debating this when we were formulating our policy. You're right, we don't have a development fund. It's basically we are offering an incentive once the final product is there. So the challenge for us also becomes, because it's a very creative exercise, and if we sponsor something, we'd actually like there to be an end product. Sometimes it doesn't work out, sometimes things go differently. But we are actually thinking of having a corpus which we can facilitate budding filmmakers. And we are in the first instance trying to promote local filmmakers from Jammu and Kashmir. But I'm sure the government of India is also looking at something like that. I'm not really aware of what the incentives are by the Film Facilitation Office. But I think they do have some sort of development fund. I'm not sure, maybe they don't, okay. But we were actually looking to have a corpus of some sort, and that could help support budding filmmakers, maybe in terms of scholarships or some sort of incentives. But one more thing I'd like to add here is that even if we don't have any sort of grant or seed funding as such, we offer support in the form of familiarization tools. So we'll help you do recce's for your shoots, to identify locations, and similarly in terms of facilitation that we can offer at the government level. But this is something that we can explore, and thank you for the input. So we'll definitely work on something like that.
Thank you, Jyoti. Yeah, Girish?
So I would just like to chime in here that at DocuBay we certainly work with filmmakers. We do have development funds, and in fact most of our documentaries, they go through a minimum of 1, 2, 3 month development phase where the filmmaker actually does the research, and we allocate a certain corpus for that. And once we feel confident that, okay, the project is ready to go on flows only, then we kind of go ahead. So I think in that sense, we at DocuBay, at least we have that provision, and in fact, we have a booth out there where we are open to any pitches as well. Our team is there, and we are more than happy to offer grants, and we are pretty much open to talk.
Just the last bit on that.
Yeah.
echoing what Girish said, but with a slight twist. Like I said, everything depends on the audience in a very low ARPU market. Development funds, yes, but development funds generally happen once we've already believed and signed off on the subject matter itself, on how much background research has been done in it, and what treatment you propose. Now, it can't be just a blank paper with a few lines written on it and said, okay, we would like some development funds. I think it's a great idea. We need to evaluate it against our own market realities, our own brand positioning, etc. I'm obviously talking about history, but the other channels will do the same. And even to Girish, for that matter, how many shows or how many films do you have where development funds have been disbursed and you've been happy to shelve those projects? I'm sure there are not many. So
I didn't spoke about the terms and conditions.
Yeah, exactly. So therein lies the thing, and it's because there isn't a lot of money lying around to invest in development and then to shelve. Perhaps my streaming friends, the big boys, have more money than we do to do exactly that kind of thing.
I think
one question, please. One question.
question.
My name is Ramesh Tekwani, and from my grey hair, I've made some 700 films of all sorts. But essentially, they've all been prepaid films, means as assignments. Now, what I have been observing for the last 20 years of MIF, documentary has acquired a questionable name, because everybody thinks of documentary as somebody rebelling against something, or being anti-government or something. Whereas most of the storytelling technique of a documentary is not narrative in that sense, and even sometimes narrative is used for documentary. I think post the success of India at the Oscars, perhaps we could start doing some PR for documentary, and see it more as engaging content which is of solid value for Kashmir. I mean, there's a lot we don't know about Kashmir. Once upon a time when we were kids, we were taken to Kashmir. But then today, what is Kashmir now? What are the young people seeing? Because way young guys see. I mean, sometimes, my editor tells me, hey, tu to Buddha ban gaya. I say, my Buddha, meri kahani or writing meri buddhi nahi ho gayi hai. Meri editing techniques buddhi ho gayi hai, because that is why I'm using it. This is where we need to, bring back the truth about documentary, where it tells a story, where it tells facts, but in a very, very engaging manner. I think we need to have a PR campaign for documentaries.
So I think you're going back to the same point, that essentially it's about how compelling your story is and what your treatment is.
True.
Right? And that really is the lifeblood of all visual and audio-visual storytelling, essentially.
Thank you, Arunji. I think time is over, and this subject is okay, sir.
Just add one point. So, like you mentioned, documentaries need not be seen as something anti-government. So that is something that we've kept in mind also. We are not really screening for the content. We are we have very basic criteria that you need to shoot in J&K. And as long as it's nothing inflammatory, we are going to support all kinds of content. So that is something that I just wanted to know. And just one more line, if some of you are free, we also have a booth at the Film Bazaar. So if any of you are interested, we'll be happy to have questions. Thank you.
I think this session needs more than 3 hours or 2-3 intervals. But let us meet again next time. I am very thankful to all my panelists, especially. Very good ideas and very good thought process. And you have given the hope and the reality of the ground, that what is the situation in the market. Thank you very much, all my panelists, and thank you. God bless you.
Our sincere thanks to Mr. Rajni Acharya for moderating this engaging session. And we also extend our heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished panelists for their insights into documentary filmmaking. We would also like to acknowledge the Mumbai International Fim Festival for organizing this. And a special thank you to you, my audience, for being so cooperative, for listening and being so engaging.
आप देख रहे हैं DD भारती।